Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Tex Messages, the Resurrection. I'm the parasite of the show, Rick Tex. We're elated to have you here once again. It's Saturday evening, December 8th, 2018. It's been a fairly busy day, so pardon me if I look slightly disheveled. You know, as far as the day goes, had to stay up a little later last night, watch the Blair Witch Project, and then of course today I had to catch up on some sleep and drive to Menards in the afternoon. So it was a pretty busy day, to say the absolute least. You know, I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to make it on air this evening, but here we are. It's a little past 9 o'clock, so I mean a little later than what we're used to, but we'll make it through. And going back to the Blair Witch Project, one thing that I found rather astounding about that is how the cameras that they made movies from weren't, you know, they weren't even really, when you stack them up to digital cameras like the insanely expensive camera that we use here, or just a random webcam at Walmart, or even just some crappy digital camera on Newegg.com, you can basically, with $50, you can pretty much buy a better picture and video and sound than they used in the Blair Witch Project 20 years ago. And that was a professional movie. So it's just amazing to see the difference between analog cameras and digital cameras nowadays. Now, back in like the late 70s though, and early 70s when they first transitioned from black and white to color, and Turner Classic Movies, they even converted some black and white movies to color. I think actually the Three Stooges did that. They're usually always in black and white, but probably some of the episodes in the 50s, maybe even the 60s, were in color. Now I don't know if they converted it to color or if they actually filmed it in color. But with Turner Classic Movies, they did convert a lot of movies into color, and I mean it just kind of looked horrible. But see, back in the early 70s, you know, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, that's one example. There's just a lot of very basic colors. You know, red, orange, yellow, blue, violet, indigo. And, you know, there was primary colors mostly, or secondary colors too as well. But they didn't, nowadays, I mean, you could basically have, I mean, 16 bits, so I have 65,000 different versions of a color, whereas back in the Technicolor 1970s, it might have been 6 different colors or whatever the case may be. It was just really strange. And then, it goes black and white, you know, it's just 2 colors. So yeah, with the digital computing architectures that we have nowadays, it allows us to have, you know, things that are a lot more color fluid and everything too. And then someday soon we'll probably have holographs. The virtual reality, that's one big thing that people are really starting to pick up on. Yeah, it looks pretty cool and everything, but I'm mostly just holding out for the holographs. So for example, you'll be able to stand in a room and then the entire movie is going on around you. That would be pretty cool. So once that comes, then, you know, if you go to a movie theater and then you can just kind of sit or stand during the movie and then just the movie goes on around you. So that would allow you to be able to watch a movie multiple times and then get more inputs and outputs out of it, you know, in your brain. Because you can be like, well, you know, maybe this time I watch the movie, I'll kind of look and see what's going on over there in the north, or maybe I'll go look in the south or the east or west. And by the way, nowadays, modern days with GPS, nobody really knows north, west, south, east. If some old person tries to describe to me, oh, I live north of Elk River or something, it's like, yeah, I have no idea where that would be. If you live by Menards, yeah, I pretty much know where that is. But east, west, south, north, no, not going to have any clue. So, I mean, with holographs, though, it was just make a lot more pleasant experience. And you know, an experience you can do over multiple times. I mean, yeah, there are some good movies that are worth watching. The Wraith, for example, that's Bloodsport, Over the Top, Silent Rage, Eye for an Eye. Basically any Chuck Norris movie from the 70s and 80s is worth watching multiple times. And Bloodsport, you know, the original one was pretty, all the sequels were horrible, but the original one with Ogre and Jean-Claude Van Damme and Chong Li, pretty solid movie. But a lot of movies made past the 90s, I'm not very familiar with pretty much. Happy Gilmore is maybe one of them. I guess the Blair Witch Project, you know, it was on last night, so I figured I'd check it out, see what it was like. But movies made past 2000, Gran Torino might be about the only one I've seen. Maybe there might be a few others, but apparently Drive, the movie's actually called, quote, Drive. So Has a pretty good soundtrack. Might have to check that out someday. But going back to movies in color, yeah, Technicolor, like Suspiria was one of the. I mean, it was late '70s, so they utilized Technicolor on that movie. But the coloring sort of creates the atmosphere in a lot of these movies. You know, like you may have seen some remakes of horror movies where they get these junky cameras that try to make it look old, but it really just makes it look cheaply made and produced. I mean, at Text Messages, yeah, we look cheaply made and produced because we are cheaply made and produced. We're not trying to fool anybody. That's the thing. People don't like being fooled. I mean, when people watch the show, they know exactly what's going on. They know there's probably 2 or 3 lights up there. There's horrible shadowing. You know, it's just some crappy drywall that was painted green, and you know, the pulpit is some board that some guy made in high school and it's still standing today. I mean, we're not fooling anyone here. But when you watch a sequel to a horror movie and they're showing you these old junky, well, I mean, they show scenes that appear to be filmed on an old junky camera, but it's just, I mean, if you actually bought an old analog camera and filmed a movie with that in 2007, yeah, it might look pretty cool. But I mean, if you try to, you know, adulterate a digital camera to look like an analog camera from the early 70s, it's just going to look horrible and stupid and silly, and people are going to feel deceived, and they don't like being deceived. So, I mean, the old movies, mid-70s to probably mid-80s, which is probably the golden age of horror movies. You had like Halloween, well, Let's Scare Jessica to Death was like late 60s, but that was still a classic. Then you had Suspiria, Deep Red, Friday the 13th. We had some other movies in there too, but none of them really are coming off the top of my head right now. But I mean, as far as the cameras and the atmospheres that it was set, it was just perfect and ideal, which is why when they do remake them, they use those silly cameras, which is, I mean, yeah, maybe some people like it and enjoy and everything too, but for the most part, it's just not for me. And it's one of the many reasons why movies made past 2000 are completely oblivious to me, and my knowledge of those movies is very, very limited. And whether it's fortunate or unfortunate, it's difficult to say. I mean, the Blair Witch Project, I mean, they had some like Curse of the Blair Witch or Adulteration of the Blair Witch or something. Just all these other sequels too that never even watched them or got into them. Whatever movies are on the antenna TV, those are probably the best ones to watch, because on YouTube, if you want to watch movies on YouTube, you pretty much have to pay for them nowadays. I mean, there are still some movies out there that don't have any copyrights or licenses to them. Like Night of the Living Dead, for example. That's one movie. Anybody could release that. I mean, hell, we could put it on our YouTube channel and no one would care because nobody owns rights to it. That's one of the reasons why It's a Wonderful Life became such a popular Christmas movie, because nobody, I mean, back in the day, nobody owned rights to it. Now I think some companies finagled some deal where they own rights to it and everything too, so then nobody probably wants to watch it anymore. But yeah, It's a Wonderful Life, a lot of the TV companies, even local broadcasters could play that. I mean, your public access channel could play It's a Wonderful Life back in the good old days because nobody had rights to it, so you could just play it for free, which is why it became so popular. I mean, it was just a Christmas tradition to watch that movie. Yeah, I mean, nowadays it's a Christmas tradition to watch Beavis and Butthead Christmas special and maybe The Snowman, a pretty good movie, good song in the movie too, which is also covered in a movie called The Keep. But yeah, I mean, when you put rights to movies and everything, I mean, I get that people that make them, those guys with the little shorts on and they're holding the mirrors and the cameras and everything, yeah, they're doing a lot of work to make the movie, and the actors and actresses and the writers and the creators, producers, all that stuff. But I mean, at some point, make your money and move on with it. I mean, do you really need to continue to profit off of the movie 40 years after it's made? It's just kind of weird. You think you want more people to enjoy it rather than, I mean, spending $3 to watch a 40-year-old movie on YouTube seems a little silly, but I mean, I get people put a lot of effort into it back in the day, but I mean, if you're being a productive member of society every single day, then it's hard to dwell on a past success from 40 years ago, or whatever the case may be, or expect people to pay for it. And the other thing too, it is kind of weird that people would watch something 40 years ago, but I mean, it's art, it's creativity, and I mean, the earth, the Earth does apparently move in a linear direction relative to the sun or whatever the case may be, but for the most part it just goes round and round. So yeah, you are moving in a circle, but you always come back to the same place. So there's also that to consider. But by and large, yeah, I mean, movies that you got to pay for now kind of sucks. It's a bad deal. Going to a movie theater is a big rip-off too, and popcorn is probably full of dangerous chemicals, and the seats are probably full of urine and possibly semen, maybe even other fecal matter. And I mean, rental stores are completely out of business now. But Netflix or whatever, I mean, yeah, Netflix is Trailer Park Boys, an awesome show. But I mean, for the most part, I mean, paying monthly fees for watching television does seem kind of a bit, it's something a pill that I haven't yet been able to swallow. Oh, there is something that may be coming out in the near future too. It's called ATSC 3.0. It's a standard that would allow internet to be transmitted and received on your antenna, just like free TV. So it'd be great if we could get some type of internet like that, or community internet, free internet, whatever the case may be. Yeah, it'll probably have more commercials and most likely spyware and everything like that. But if you consider antenna TV that's absolutely free and it's just completely advertised or funded and everything, I mean, it provides enough entertainment. I mean, they got old movies to provide some uniqueness. They got TV shows, 2.5 Men, Big Bang Theory. Then they got NFL football, not really any other sporting events. And they have NASCAR occasionally too. I mean, it's all advertised or funded. So if you watch NFL football, then they advertise the Ford F-150 with the aluminum box. If you've got a lot of money, you're probably going to buy that then because you saw it on the TV show. But yeah, I mean, free internet would probably be. It seems like it'd probably be a good deal, but it is hard to say because, I mean, information can be transmitted and received at such breakneck speeds now that, I mean, CenturyLink and Charter, they can give you like a gigabit of speed per whatever gigabit per second or whatever the case may be of bandwidth. And I mean, it's probably nothing to them. It's information travel has become so efficient now that, I mean, free internet transmitted over the antenna seems like it would be a plausible thing without having to spend a whole bunch of money on infrastructure and everything like that. But that's what we'll see. ATSC 3.0. So hopefully it'll come to fruition at some time in the near future. It's just nice to eliminate monthly bills too. Just creates a lot more stress when you know you're paying bill. Plus, CenturyLink had this thing where they would put you on a promo for 2 years, so you'd pay $30, and then after that 2 years is up, then the price would skyrocket up to $70. So then you'd have to call them and get on another promo or anything or something like that. But fortunately, lately I got on one where it's like $40 a month, which is a pretty good deal. But so we want to get to the news article here, ladies and gentlemen. It's not really gonna get any detailed deep dive into it. It's just something I saw on ScienceDaily.com that brings into question the origins of our atmosphere, or our solar system. Newly discovered supernovae completely changes the story of the origin. So, if we're trying to look at the first few moments of a violent stellar explosion, and many supernovas gradually increase in light that they put out, but this one had an unexplained additional emission. So it doesn't sound, you think, a lot of times, it's very difficult to capture these explosions. So when the scientists do capture it, they got a bunch of telescopes or whatever, Hubble telescope, this, that, and the other thing, have fixated on it. They got a bunch of these weird names for telescopes too. Fixation 5, 7, 3, 8, 9, or some numerical nomenclature for it. But yeah, they observe supernovae explosions and then map out consistencies between one or the other and try to figure out how the Earth originated. The Big Bang Theory, just something blew up and then the solar system is just expanding. All the stars are getting further and further away and everything like that, and the Milky Way and the galaxies and everything are. We're rotating around the sun, and the moon is rotating around us, the Earth. With the American flag on it. So we but we're expanding away from where we originated. That's, we're moving in a linear direction and rotating too. So it's moving and rotating. It'd be like waves kind of on a lake. So they're moving up and down, but they appear to be moving in a certain direction. There's an obvious energy trajectory headed in a linear direction, even though the waves are moving up and down. And yeah, apparently these explosions, they figured that they would be consistent with the Big Bang, but this one had an additional emission, so it was a little bit different. Now as far as, science doesn't really have to be super complicating. Yeah, building a Hubble telescope, that's pretty complicating. But to observe stars and galaxies and things blowing up, most of it is theory or hypothesis, and just people getting together and putting their heads together and figuring out what's going on. Theoretical science is basically what it is. It's not so much experimental. Experimental would be if somebody's blowing stuff up in a lab, or if they try to replace the furnace in their house and cross some wires and blow up their house. That would be experimental physics and science. But by and large, these are mostly theoretical physicists and everything like that, and astronomers. So yeah, they're definitely baffled by that supernovae explosion, and it is interesting to briefly look into things of that nature, just to see what's going on in society and see where people are, and see if people are finally coming around and to believe in the higher creator and the higher intelligence and all that, which it's definitely hit and miss. Apparently the most highly gifted IQ people definitely think that there's some higher intelligent being that created the land and the earth and the sky and the heavens above. So yeah, hopefully that's always a good sign. Most people I meet that are very upbeat and just overall good people are usually very humble and understanding that there's a higher intelligence out there too. If somebody can create a human, fully functioning human, and then they can create a whole ecosystem, I'll believe them if they're atheists and everything like that too. But until then, you have to believe that there's some higher intelligent being out there. And apparently this supernovae explosion brings into question the origin of our original hypotheses. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you again for listening and possibly watching. You don't really have to watch it. Hell, you could just listen to it and download it as MP3. It won't really take that long. Just get free YouTubedownloader.com and click, highlight the link, put it in the downloader, download as MP3, and then you can just listen to it. There's really no visual appeal. Someday we might start putting some images on this green screen, like for example, we'd have to improve the lighting clearly. Now it's just a couple LEDs up there, and we could get like shop lights and everything too and make it look great again. But we might get some animations on here that would show our human digestive system, so I could say, alright, when you eat food, your teeth break down the food, then saliva breaks down, then it goes into your esophagus, and that further breaks down, then it goes into your large intestine. First it goes into your stomach, the acid eats away a lot of stuff, and then it gets to the large intestines, and those start to break down, and then they got receptors that grab vitamin B, vitamin A, C, all your minerals, and you get the small intestines, they break it down further, then you get in the colon, and then it expels it out of your rectum. We might start doing stuff like that, ladies and gentlemen, which is why we have the green screen in the first place. But until then, probably just continue to stand up here and talk and just have it back here for no apparent reason. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you all for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the show, and probably be back tomorrow night. Thank you very much. I salute you. We salute you.